distancing for the remainder of the videos up until all this stuff is blown over with the coronavirus. And also with this particular video, I have to give a huge shout out to Josh for being patient and working with me on it, as I had already screwed up this interview twice. And what you're going to be watching is actually a recording of the second time that I failed to capture my audio for it, and then just splicing in me asking the questions. Also, for most of this video, I'm going to be actually voicing over the second time we did this, so that way you can still kind of capture like the real feel of like what it was for the interview, and not just like my reactions afterwards and watching the video again. So that being said, let's just go ahead and get into it.
I think everyone kind of has had this feeling before of working for someone else. Like, didn't feel, oh no, I just didn't feel like I was really fulfilling like what I wanted to do in life. Like, you would get a new job and feel good at that job for like a month or two, and then just be like, you realize that you're working to make someone else rich, or you're working to make someone else's dream come true. And I just didn't like that. And I like video games, so how else could I like competitive video games? Not like, I mean, I still like the non-competitive, but competitive is really where my heart is, because I played sports, all growing up. So like going to competitive video games is easy for me. So I was like, why don't I just do esports? So I started my own esports company back in 2018, about October 2018, and here we are.
How long have you been in the Charlotte area?
Well, I was born in Charlotte and I moved to Salisbury when I was 4. And then when I graduated from high school, I went to East Carolina University, and then I did 1 year there, and then I joined the military and I moved to Virginia. So I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, in the Navy for 5 years of active. I got out for a couple years. I joined the Army Reserves, and I moved back down to Salisbury to work in construction for my dad, which led me back to being here. And long story short, I went back to school while working in construction, doing night school for IT, as like an IT certification school. Um, Went there, was halfway through the course, realized that like IT's fun, but I want to run my own company. I want to do esports. So I started focusing on esports, and I got a job in IT. It was great. It was in Charlotte, so I was local still, but still wasn't feeling like that's really what I wanted to do. Doing IT support at first was cool, but 2 years later, I was like over it, I really didn't want to do it, and I was running my own company, and I was like, you know what, I had the opportunity to do esports full time, and I ran with it.
So, how did you handle any negative Nancy's or Debbie Doubters, if you had any?
Well, I think we've talked about it before. Reddit is the worst place to go, especially Charlotte's Reddit. They were the worst. So like I posted once or twice there, and then I just never went back because of how negative the response was towards having an esports startup in Charlotte. I'm sure they've just heard it a million times and we're just through with it. But I mean, to me, I didn't need to hear it. And the biggest thing is just getting like family and stuff. Not that they're negative, but you have to convince people that esports is a real thing. And now, obviously, where we're at now, it's a much different. Even 2 years ago, is much different outlook from people than where we are now. So, I mean, it was just basically stigma. You're fighting not so much just one person, but like a collective idea of what video games are, and having to battle that stigma is kind of what I've dealt with more so than not.
With that being said, did you take any of those to become teaching moments for the individual?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, man, yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, it depends on how ignorant the person is that's writing or saying something. If it's someone that's blatantly just trolling, I just ignore it. But if it's someone who I feel is just kind of missed the mark on what it is, like usually the older traditional sports fans are the ones to say something. It's not a real sport, blah blah blah. And I'm like, look, we're not comparing it to real sports. You're comparing it to real sports. You know, that's something you're comparing to. We're saying it has parallels to it with how they train, they practice, they go over film, professional esports orgs have routines that their players are in, stuff like that. So there's a lot of parallels. Now, I'm not saying they're athletes, but I'm saying they're not just a kid playing video games also. And that's kind of where I stand with it. And that's what I tell most traditional sports fans, that look, we're not trying to steal your thunder. We're really not. It's just that this is what the new generation of people are really watching, as we see the decline in viewership and um, traditional sports, football, especially NASCAR is a big one that's been declining. Basketball, all that stuff. We're seeing esports viewership greatly increase. Big events are selling out like that. I mean, to get a ticket to BlizzCon is nearly impossible for like the past 5 years. As soon as it goes online, it's like sold. You can't get it. And no, you probably did the same thing I did. I had the screen up and ready, and when it went live, just you click refresh until you possibly get it, and I never got it. So, that's the type of stuff that is the different. It's different, yes, but who's to say it's not going to be more popular? I mean, I think we are collectively understand it will become more popular with time. Um, but it's very hard for the traditional sports people to not look down on us and say, well, it's not a real sport. Like, yeah, we know we're not out there you know, running, super fast or jumping super high or doing something like that. We're just have super fast reflexes or, something like, what esports is. So that's really just mostly what it is. It's usually the sports heads that I deal with. I do try to educate them as much as I can. And I'm a sports fan. I mean, I'm a huge Carolina Panthers fan. Like I love it. And there's nothing that will change that. And it's esports isn't taking away from that. If anything, it's cross pollinating, among multiple things. So NFL, NBA, NHL, MLS, all these things, they all have games and they kind of cross pollinate. And so there's a lot to be learned from it still. And I think the community is kind of, especially now with coronavirus, they're starting to see, hey, this is actually pretty cool. Let's look into that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Did you choose your market based off of passion or more about numbers, aka profitability?
Well, I think when you're looking at a business side, you need to look at the profitability for sure. It's, to go into a business purely on passion um, is not a good way to start a business. You can be super passionate about something and want to do it and fail miserably because you haven't done your homework. So, I guess I'm about to sneeze. Ooh, this pollen. I know you've seen it outside. It's rough. I should. Oh wait, I just. It's fine. Even if people see, I actually meant to do that, but my hand can. But no. I think the way you look at that is, let's say for instance, I'm a huge esports fan, and I live in California, and I'm going to start an esports org. The chances of me being successful in California, starting an esports org with no prior background in esports or business knowledge or knowledge of investors or even people who to talk to, the chances of me making it are slim to none. But if you were in a place like Charlotte, where there isn't a major esports brand, there's nothing really going on esports wise, but chances are greatly increased because there are people there who want to learn. And if you understand esports, you know that you can take that knowledge and kind of work your way up to where you want to be in a non-esports area. So like for me, no one really knew esports. So the first thing I did was I contacted the only LAN center in Charlotte, the only real LAN center in Charlotte. I started doing events there, and I kind of grew my name from that. Started doing stuff with the major conventions that were coming through the Carolinas, started working with them, brought on a business partner I met, started reaching out to sponsors, doing that, actually made, a lot of money on sponsor. Well, not a lot of money, but enough money to where we could keep doing events and buying stuff for the events. Every dime that we made was put right back into our company. And then from there, meeting the right people, like investor wise, or even your mentors and stuff. I consulted for the city of Charlotte for esports. Meeting with the mayor, like it's all a building process. So when you create a business, you have to look at, is this something that can happen here, and do I have a passion for it? Because you're going to get a lot of answers you don't like to hear. So if you don't have a passion for it, you're probably not going to last long. But if you don't also have a good business plan in the right area, you're probably not going to last long. It's got to be a combination of both. Yeah, because like a good business plan will only get you so far without the passion, because you got to be willing to just grind and grind and grind. Even when you don't feel like it, you still got to be able to grind. So, like, like right before this podcast, I'm still working. Like, granted, we're working from home, so it's on and off throughout the day, but still working. Even though on the outside looking in, it looks like we've made it, we're doing really well. There's still a lot of things that we have to do, housekeeping wise, and to make sure that the future of the company is something that's going to be super strong. It never ends. Speaking to all entrepreneurs right now, just because you get to the point where you want to go, that's not where it ends. Like, you cannot set a goal for yourself, hit that goal, and then not have anything else. You always have to elevate. What's your next step? What's your next step? What's your next step? People talk about these 1-year plans, these 5-year plans, 10-year plans, stuff like that. Those are important. We have a 5-year plan. I'm in year 2 right now of that plan, and I'm already looking to, okay, now what does 10 years look like? Because when I hit 5 years, I don't want to be saying, what does 10 years look like? I want to say, okay, well, now I already know what my next step is. I don't want to have to take that time, because time is money, and being an entrepreneur, I mean, that's what it is. You're not paid hourly, which, thank God, being paid hourly is the worst. But your time that you spend is where you'll make your money. So you have to be smart with it.
So, what are some of your favorite tools and facets for interacting with your customers or fans?
Yeah, so Discord is a really good one. I love Discord. We actually have kind of moved all of our meetings. You've probably seen it when we're in the super secret channel and there's other people in there. Only admins have access to it. That's like us having meetings with people. And Discord is the best place we found to talk with gamers. Like, we can get in contact with them on Twitter or social media or whatever, and even make a group phone call or Zoom. But in honesty, everyone's using Discord. Everyone, and Discord does the exact same thing Zoom does, except the only difference is you're not dialing on your phone or something like that. You have to have a Discord name, which any real gamer has a Discord name. So it's not like a problem for us. So Discord's the biggest tool. Social media platforms outside of that, which I don't really know if you can consider Discord a social media platform. I guess it is in a way, because you can pump information out to people and people are social on it. But Twitter is obviously a good one, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. But Discord is definitely number one.
Do you have any people or books that influence you and your methods?
Definitely people. So Gary V is definitely one. Gary Vaynerchuk, absolutely mind-blowing businessman. He's very much the 24/7 work type. I mean, he has a family life too, but he's all about work. The chase, the thrill of the hunt is for him. It's not about making money. That's not it at all. For him, it's about the journey to get there. And then once he gets there, he's on to the next thing. So a lot of what he talks about is specifically geared towards entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter what age you are. He stressed that quite a bit. Doesn't matter what age you are. You need to listen to him, because if you're thinking about doing your own thing, Gary Vee is a great first place to start. He does weekly, vlogs, daily podcast. It's always something new and quirky that his team is working on. I think I've seen like 4 or 5 different ways of interaction that he's had, that he's recorded and put out there, just over like the last few months. So there's also Tony Robbins, I'm a big fan of. Tony Robbins has a great story. His come up was a big one. He's a motivational speaker, more so than like a business speaker. Now, he is a very business minded person. He invests, and if I'm not mistaken, he's invested in a parent company for an esports org. I have to look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that's a big one. I guess even so, looking at maybe not so much like motivational speaker person, but like being a sports fan, you always have that like one really great athlete that you look up to that gives that motivation. Obviously, growing up in North Carolina, being a Chapel Hill fan, Michael Jordan is like that guy because um, he's that he literally what was it, played like a playoff game when he had the flu, was super sick, and like managed to play through it. Like when I have the flu, I'm in my bed, I don't want to move, I feel horrible. This dude's out like crossing people up, dunking on them. Like I can only imagine the type of work ethic that it took to get to that point and to be that great, because a lot of people don't realize, like I think it was his middle school, like his last year of middle school, or no, maybe his freshman year in high school, he didn't make the basketball team, you know? And it, yeah, his freshman year, he didn't even make the basketball team. Same with, it's other GOATs. Look at, Kobe, RIP Kobe, Mamba mentality. I mean, that dude, if you know his story, he didn't grow up an athlete, wasn't like skilled at basketball. He had to teach himself that. He went out and practiced every day. He wasn't like a naturally gifted, like how LeBron James is naturally big guy and just smooth with it. That's not Kobe. Kobe had to learn everything as he goes. There's sports are great to pull that type of story from and to get motivation from and to learn how to grind. Sports are a great place to start. Hopefully we'll see that in esports. Like right now, my big thing that I'm watching is age. A lot of people are saying, oh, you can only be young and playing this. Well, I'm seeing older people still competing. I think more or less what it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think more or less what it is you get older, you get more responsibilities, and you can't give the time that you need to games if you're not a pro, or if you're like a pro but you're not making enough to live on. Say you're in a smaller title or something. I feel like that's more of what it is rather than age, because yeah, I mean, look at it. When you're 15, 16 years old, living at home, eating Cheetos, drinking Mountain Dew, playing video games, you don't have to worry about anything else other than school. Even up until 22, 23, you're in college, school, and then, I'd even so far as push it to like maybe mid 20s. You're still bachelor, bachelorette, probably living by yourself, hold a job, but outside of your job, what are you doing? Playing video games. But it's when you get married, or you have kids, or both, that changes the dynamic of everything. Then you have a family support, and all of a sudden the time that you spent playing video games, you're allotting to your family, you're allotting to your work, you're allotting to one-on-one time with your significant other. It creates a new dynamic, and it's very hard to get that gaming time in, unless if you're willing to stay up from, let's say everyone's in bed by 10 o'clock, 10 to 1 or 2 in the morning, which in most entrepreneurs, you guys understand, the ones watching this that do that grind, you guys understand. But for gamers, exactly. But you tell someone who's 26, 27 that, hey, you're not gonna be able to game the way you once were. You can't stream whenever you want. You got a real job. You got a family support. You've got X factor going on. That makes a lot of people not really, they can't focus at all, and they kind of lose their edge. So look at me, man. Look at me. I can't play as much as I used to. That's for sure. But I still think that, I mean, everyone knows. Well, everyone knows I play Rocket League, and I only play it when time is allotted, and I'm better than like 90% of the people I play against. Obviously, there's definitely a giant skill level between me and our team, but as far as casual players, there's not a lot of casual players that have the same skill I do. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I really think that the age isn't as much as a factor as we once thought. I think that um, outside outside problems are causing people to have to quit at their mid to late 20s and focus on other things.
So, what do you feel is number one key to success in your market or field?
So the number one key to success is knowing your audience, uh, understanding the product. For me, is understanding the product or what I'm selling to people. Okay, which is esports, or our team. So just trying to relate this to the people who maybe don't know esports but understand like what they want to do, or need a better idea of what they want to do. Know your product inside and out. no matter what it is. So I say product, people think like an item. It doesn't have to be an item. I mean, it can be something like I have. Like I had an idea. That was my product. So knowing that and knowing your demographic that you're targeting and understanding how the ecosystem works, that's like the main keys that I feel like are really something you want to kind of hone in on. Yeah, don't people get lost in that all the time? They hear product and they think something physical, and I'm like, it took me a while to break that mentality too. I'm thinking, well, I'm not selling a product, this is an idea. No, it's still a product. It's a product of your mind. I mean, you have to keep that. You have to remember that, and I see that a lot. A lot of people don't know, they don't understand that a product can be anything. You can sell the idea of anything to someone as long as you know what you're doing.
What do you feel is your number one customer or fan success story, and why?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I guess I can give a success story. I mean, obviously we're still writing our success story. We're not just a basic startup anymore. We're still, I guess you could say, startup, not really. Yeah, we are, but we aren't. We're kind of in that weird area right now. We're not starting out, but we're not where we need to be. Well, we're where we need to be, but we're not where we want to be. We're in that weird area. But I guess you could say, yeah. So we fan success story would be, we have been doing events for a while and have people come out to the events and always show up. So we finally decided for one guy that kept coming to bring him on as part of the event staff and help out. And I think you know who I'm talking about. Uh, that would be you. You're definitely a success story. I mean, think about it though. We have a few people that were in the same boat as you were. Marino, for instance, he'd been coming to all our Call of Duty events. He'd been hitting me up, really is interested in helping. And one event we were short, I think 15 or like 10 or 15 Call of Duty discs that we needed for the PlayStations, because how that worked out, people brought discs because we didn't have enough. And when those people were knocked out of the tournament, they had to leave. So they take their disc with them. So we were coming up short on discs. So Marino went out and bought 10 copies of Call of Duty right there for us. Yeah. So yeah, and he was playing in the tournament. So it's like, that's the type of dedication when we see something. And everyone listening, if you want to get into esports, this is how you do it. You show dedication, you show support, you do whatever is necessary to get to where you need to go. It doesn't matter if it's doing events, playing on a team, the business side. If someone were to say, I need this done, or like I need help with X, approach them, say, hey, I'll help you. I'm not going to, you don't have to pay me. I'll do it for free. Just let me get some experience under my belt, kind of work it that way. And that, I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, they will take you up on that offer. You'll get to know them and you'll be able to immediately jump the queue of people putting in applications. You go straight to the front and most of the time get brought on. Now, it may not be the position you want, but guess what? You got your foot in the door. And that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part of esports, is getting the foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, it's pretty much up to you at that point. What's your work ethic going to be like, but you're in. And getting, obviously working for free versus me looking for someone to do something and hire them and not sure if I'm gonna like it. I would rather take the free person, take a gamble, and just see how they do. And if they do well, then bring them on. If they don't, here's a free T-shirt or something. Thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it. Stuff like that. And it's how are you looking? How are you looking to get into whatever you want? It doesn't even have to be esports. That could be a lesson for any industry. Obviously, owning business, we've talked with other business owners, even outside of esports. Being in Charlotte, part of the startup community, we talk a lot with other tech companies and stuff like that. And just because of Jeff Brokaw, one of the business owners, one of my partners, owns other businesses, and CJ, who has a very extensive, portfolio as far as working with the Army Esports program. We know a lot of people and we talk to a lot of different companies, and I can tell you right now, they all look for that person that has that drive that no one else has. So that's really how you kind of set yourself apart.
And what are some hobbies that you have outside of your business?
Man, I love working on my car. Actually, yesterday I replaced my rear bumper and one of my taillights. Um, yeah, so I didn't plan on replacing the rear bumper. I mean, I do eventually because I had ordered it and was just going to take it to the body shop and let them do it all. But to remove the taillight, you have to remove the bumper cover. So I had to, it took a little while because those plastic screws, that go in stuff, if you don't have that tool to get them out and you're just using a flathead, you break half of them, and the other times they're just so loose that they just fall out. So I was trying to keep them from breaking as I was pulling them out, just barely wiggling around and popping that little screw part out. But I'm just gonna have to order a whole new. As a matter of fact, in the front driver's side, the tire, I replaced the fender on that side. And when I was doing that, I noticed the plastic on the wheel well was like really just in bad shape. I mean, it was like falling down. So I pulled it out, not realizing that plastic is also connected, it connects to the bumper and holds it in certain places and stuff. So yeah, and I mean, it's still doable. Like I took zip ties on the inside and zip tied the bumper in there, but it's not where it's not the right way, and it drives me insane. But when I take it to the body shop, I'm just gonna say, "Hey, can you fix that?" Well, well, see what drives me insane. So in the back, my wife was kind of hit in the back, not hard, but like pushed in the back from a tractor trailer. She was turning right in my car, and I wasn't with her, but a tractor trailer was behind her at a truck stop and didn't see her because it's a two-door coupe Honda Civic Si. People don't see it because if you're sitting way up high. So the truck actually hit the car and pushed it off to the side. My wife was freaking out. I was on the phone with her, but it didn't look like it did a ton of damage. It looked like it broke the taillight a little bit and kind of pushed it out. But when I took everything off, I realized it's the metal actually under all that kind of got dented in about an inch and a half. And that inch and a half makes a huge difference because the taillight isn't necessarily smooth with the back now, the body. It kind of sticks out a little bit farther. I can't do anything. I don't have the tools to pull metal or anything like that. So another thing for the body shop to have to deal with because it's yeah, okay, there's a few dents and stuff that gotta be taken care of, but for the most part, I've got most of it done, and I did it myself. I love working on cars, especially. I'll go like yesterday. I got done working on my car. Immediately came in here, started looking at lip kits, exhaust, headers, stuff like that, and I'm like, I want to do it all, but I have to like calm myself down because this is an '06 Honda Civic Si. It's my daily driver. I love the car to death. I've had it since high school. Once it gets repainted, it's going to look great again. It doesn't look bad right now. It really doesn't. But planning on just getting rims, but that would be it. Maybe redo the sound system, add some nice stuff in there. But yeah, 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 definitely. So but my end goal, I really, really want, and if Jeff or CJ or Brenton watch this, I really want a Corvette really bad. And they're tired of hearing me say it, but one day I will have a Corvette. That's like my goal. I love the new ones, the C8 Corvettes. Have I seen them? I live for that car, man. That is like my dream car. Even more so than a Lamborghini or Ferrari. I'm a Corvette guy at heart, anyways. I've always liked Corvettes, but when they went to mid-engine, bro, I lost it. So I even told my wife I'd take like a 97 to 2004 Corvette. I would even take that one. I wouldn't even care. But I'm happy with the Honda right now. It's driving great. I'm going to make it look good. It's black, so I'm just going to get repainted black again. Tint the windows even darker, get maybe some different rims, tire package. But yeah, cars are definitely that hobby.
What are some of your approach methods for partners and investors?
Direct contact. Yeah, so that's an easy one, and this is one a lot of people miss the mark on because they don't know how to do it. Direct contact by either Vmail, email, or even like calling. LinkedIn is a great tool for business people. I feel like a lot of people don't use that enough in business. They make a LinkedIn profile and then they leave it and they don't update it for years. LinkedIn is definitely a great place to look for investors, potential business partners, sponsors, stuff like that, and just send them a message. Usually their email is on their profile too. So you can send them a message saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." Don't be afraid to email someone. A lot of people are afraid to email a CEO or something like that because they think they're out of. No, they're really not. Just email them. They're just like me and you. Like if it's interesting, if it's something they're into, then they'll listen. Even if it's not something they're into, if you show them, what your product is, what you're doing, or what your idea, your goal, where you want to get, they'll probably listen. Yeah. Well, like for you, to get people on your podcast, don't you just reach right out to them and say, "Hey, I want you to be on the podcast." And then if you don't hear anything, well, guess what? On to the next person. No big deal.
Okay, so right here, I was talking about how, with my experience in the military, that
Oh yeah.
we're taught that failures are not failures, they're just opportunities for improvement.
Yeah, that's it's funny you say that about the military. I haven't even really thought about that much lately because when I got out in November, yeah, yeah. So this is my second time getting out. So I remember it was like the first time getting out, you forget about it, and then a year later, you're like, man, I miss it. I really miss it. Um, but no, you're right. The military trains you to when something fails. What do you do after that? How do you react to it? Especially if you're in a direct combat role. If you fail at something or something fails, you have to be able to react to that and to make a new plan and attack that opportunity that's been given. It may not be an opportunity that you want. Um, it may be a very bad opportunity, but it's still a way that you can at least save face and move on and learn from that. I think that's also why, like when you're at the range, you can fail. Like usually someone fails, but then they're given another chance because you learn, you improve. You don't just go out the first day shooting a gun and hitting it perfect, shooting expert. You're probably not going to do that great the first time. You're going to do some training. You're going to come back and you're going to do better. And every time it's better and better and better.
Did you have any research time before starting up, or did you just dive right in?
Well, so esports, as far as the esports, just that, not a lot because I've been playing video games forever competitively. I knew what it was. The business side, I didn't really know how to do that, and that's why I brought on CJ, who is one of the partners. So there's three of us: Jeff, me, and CJ. CJ understood the basic principles of how the business needs to be created, all the back end stuff, the forms, all that. He understood all that, got it down. And then even progressing farther, me and CJ didn't know how to attack investing and stuff like that, how to get investors, how to get funded. So I reached out on LinkedIn. Jeff Brokaw, he consulted with Envy, and when they were here and helped them in a lot of things and understands esports, and I'd read a lot about him, so we brought him on as another partner. And he knows investing and that part, so we made him the chief business officer. And it's not so much I didn't understand business, I understand people and I understand how that works. The military is a prime example. There's a hierarchy of how things work, and that's kind of what I went with. I understand the broad picture of what I have, a big idea of what I want, and I just need the people below me to understand each thing that I don't, inside and out, and I put them there, and they're doing absolutely outstanding. So
Have you all used any paid ads or promotions, and how did you guys feel about them?
yes, I feel greatly about them. I feel like using Facebook ads, Twitter ads, all that stuff is great, especially if you're wanting to hit a certain demographic, you have a certain market you're trying to reach. Definitely use it. It's all about you. You get what you pay for in ads also. So if you spend $10, you're only gonna get $10 worth of that ad service. But if you do like $100, you get a much more bigger value out of it. So as far as when it comes to buying ad space in social media, for instance, you're definitely going to get what you pay for. So just be wary of that. Don't think you're going to get $10. You're going to blow up overnight. That's not how that works. So you need to have a budget for that. But I definitely think it's worth it. I 100% think it's worth it doing that. Dude, I don't mean to interrupt you, but your color in the back was green and your shirt is green. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, if you green screen this, all that you could have is just your head floating in a chair. Yeah, it's weird, like when people green screen like their games and stuff, like, and it's just like them in a chair in the game. I'm like, this is weird looking. I like seeing people's backgrounds. Like I like the lighting. I like to see what people have in their background because they'll put like different pop figures and stuff like that. Yeah, and like different things. I mean, don't mind this. This is I'm at home, so this isn't like what you would normally see. We actually found a house, by the way. Yes. Yeah, so I think June 1st is when we're looking to move. So we're going to talk with a realtor tomorrow. We're just renting right now, but we've got a good feeling this is the area that we'll probably want to stay in. But yeah, it's so I will probably have a different background next time we do something like this.
So how did you approach other businesses or people in terms of guidance and or ideas for improvement?
So I have a mentor, Chris Cheney. He's really well known in esports. He's done a lot in esports. I met him at the esports travel summit in Atlantic City of 2019? Yeah, 2019. That's when I was consulted for the city of Charlotte and helped kind of guide them through that so they could figure out what esports is. So I talk to him on and off. Maybe once every month or every other month we will catch up and just talk about what's been going on. Get some insight on what he's doing. I give him a little bit of insight on what I'm doing. But having a mentor is a very and how I approached him was he was on a panel. I loved everything he was saying, so I just went up to him and talked to him. I was like, "Hey, I love what you're saying. I'd love to pick your brain more and talk more." And we ended up talking quite a bit throughout that weekend. So it became one of those things where I got his number and call him every now and again, just catch up and, kind of tell him, hey, this is what we're doing. This is pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad to see you doing that, and if I need any advice, he helps me out with that. So, directly approaching that person and just being like, hey, just tell them what your idea is or like what you're trying to do, and if there's someone who's worth it, they'll and you someone who you think that could add value to what you're doing, definitely continue to pursue just talking to that person, even if it's not for an investment standpoint or bringing them on as a partner. Having them just as a mentor and just kind of picking their brain from time to time is definitely good.
Did you have any lessons learned from starting that you could share with us today?
Lessons learned. I mean, it's hard to say what the lessons are, only because, oh, I need to yawn. Jeez, I just drank that Red Bull. I know. Lessons learned. Gosh, I guess the biggest lessons learned would be know who your competition is, know who's trying to do the same thing you are, make sure that you don't give up too much of what you're doing, too much secrets about your business so that people don't rip you off. That wasn't necessarily a lesson learned, but it's something that good thing I haven't had that happen, or up to this point, we haven't had that happen. But you definitely don't want to reveal too much of what you're doing because people these days are just not trustworthy. They'll take the idea and run with it, then take all the credit for it, and you're left in the dust. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love all the other esports orgs in the area, but what separates us from most of them, and I say most of them because not all of them, is we are outside of our comfort zone. A lot of esports orgs stay within their comfort zone. They stay with what they know, and then they don't grow from that. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. If you want to stay small, you want to stay comfortable in what you're doing, and you're not worried about getting bigger, that's fine. But for us, our goal was never to stay small. We wanted to go to a tier 1 type organization. And as you can tell, we are very much on the way there. Yeah. So we're not that's the biggest thing between us and them.
Now, time for one of my favorite questions. What are some of your favorite spots in the Queen City?
Hot Taco, because it's right behind our office and it's really easy to go there and get food. I think CJ eats there every day that he's at the, obviously not right now, but he was like, yeah, I eat here every day. He loves chips and salsa. So if you guys ever want to bribe CJ, get him chips and salsa. Okay. Yep. You tell him you meet him at Hot Taco, he's there. Um, I really like Two Scoops. I really love that place. I've always thought that place was cool. I like taking my daughter there. She really likes ice cream. So on a summer day, my brother, he lives in Uptown, but he's moving soon. He's building a house. But he lives in Uptown, so we'd go to his place, spend the day at the pool, then go walk to ice cream, and made for a good day. Probably then Duckworth's. Really like Duck. Yeah, that place is it's good, man. It's got a good location, a lot of TVs. Uptown.
Any advice for spotting and avoiding sabotage advice that you may get?
Just be wary. You'll know when someone's trying to. Mostly because usually it's someone you've been talking to that is like trying to dig information out of your company and trying to figure out your business model and then kind of take that. It also could be a disgruntled employee that knows everything about your company or what your idea is, and then they'll take that and try to do it themselves. So the best way to spot that is to treat everyone nicely and fairly, and also to be able to kind of just use common sense when talking to people about your business and what you're trying to do. Don't just go tell them everything like, oh, I have so and so investing, or I'm working on this sponsorship, or we're coming out with this new model for this product, and show them like the schematics. Like, you don't do that stuff. Like, I know people like to do business meetings where they're drinking, and that's great, but if you start drinking and talking, I promise you someone is there like, oh dude, I could take that idea and make it my own, and they probably will. So
So that's pretty much all I had for Charlotte Esports and Charlotte Phoenix related questions. So, are there any other local entrepreneurs that you find interesting?
local entrepreneurs. I think Yeah, I think even beyond entrepreneurs, I would definitely like to give a shout out to the mayor of Charlotte, Mayor Vi Lyles. She's been absolutely outstanding with supporting the effort to bring esports here, along with Visit Charlotte. They're working on bringing some big esports events, like big, I mean like major esports events, and even the city councilman for District 6, Tarek Bakari. Super great guy. He's extremely pumped about esports, more than anyone in politics that I've ever met. He wants to learn. He loves the Charlotte Phoenix. And he's learning. Well, he's honestly looking out for Charlotte, because Charlotte is a big tech city, especially with fintech, and with tech, obviously esports, and we want to be one of the leading esports cities in America, and even so far into like internationally, the world. We have support from the city, so that I would like to highlight the leaders in the city that are really helping push this um, to the next level, and kind of helping us get there. So that's, and as far as other orgs, there are esports orgs I tell people look into. If you guys are big fighting game fans, definitely check out Kyobi. They do a lot of fighting game stuff. It's spelled Koyobi. Check them out. Tell them, Josh sent you, or Shade. And also there is VR. If you're into VR, there's XR VR Esports. They're actually out of Rock Hill, but they do a ton of stuff in Charlotte. Randy, he does a great job with getting you really immersed in VR and kind of helping you out with that. And then you have Eve, who is married to Randy, but she also does the Athena Alliance, which is an all females gaming night at different areas, like different breweries and stuff, where they kind of raise money for. I think the last one was raising money for veteran females who have transitioned out of the military, which it's a great cause that they're doing. And then there's also Total Advantage out of they're close to Hickory. It's another good esports org. If you're an amateur looking to make a name for yourself and you want an org that is going to really help you stand out, TA is one of those. I just call them TA for short, but it's Total Advantage. They're doing amazing things. Obviously they're, I guess you could say, competition, but we really like Landon. He comes to all the events that we do, brings his crew. Great guys. And with esports is, the rising tides raise all ships, and that's the kind of mentality we want to carry with us. We don't want to put anyone out that's trying to make a name for themselves or do something different. So, and the UNC Charlotte kids, those guys in that esports club are doing amazing things. They run good lands. Spoon over there, the president, he does a great job with making sure things are taken care of. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously there's colleges. Catawba College has a great esports program, so shout out to them. But Gid, he runs the program over there. So what's up, good? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just the whole esports ecosystem that we have here in Charlotte that we've helped build along with those other organizations. We've really made great strides to bring something big to Charlotte. And
for me, that you'd like to ask.
Man, I think we've hit a lot of stuff. I guess, how are you liking doing podcasts? Is it fun? Are you enjoying it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm really enjoying the podcast material. I am one of the people who love the one-on-one sit downs with people and stuff like that versus a phone call or a text where you're only really getting half of the message per se. Whereas even with just this video call here, you're getting the visual feedback and you're getting the oral feedback, and that kind of thing is what I really love to enjoy. And the time I was spending throwing axes and stuff like that was probably one of the most saturated moments of me getting to know local entrepreneurs to Charlotte. And so that time gave me the opportunity to really appreciate what everyone is doing here in the Queen City. And that's what prompted me to do the podcast after me and you guys especially.
Good, man. I'm glad that you got something you're like doing, because podcasts are a great way to get to know people. It's a great way to get your name out there, and it's also a great way to a lot of things. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I like that, man. I like that.
Alrighty, Josh, do you have any plugs or promotions you'd like to throw in there for Charlotte Phoenix and Charlotte Esports to wrap this up?
Yeah, so I definitely be on the lookout for Charlotte Phoenix, April 11th. It's a Friday. We have our promotion relegation tournament in Rocket League. This is for anyone who doesn't know, our Rocket League team is in the Rocket League Rival Series, which would be considered like AAA. And we're in the promotion tournament to move up to Major League, basically the RLCS, which is the Rocket League Championship Series. So it's going to be a big day for us. We're really looking forward to it. We have a lot of big things I wish I could say. A lot of people will be seeing it over the next few weeks, especially. But just be on the lookout for that. Once this COVID-19 stuff ceases, and everything kind of goes back to normal, you'll see a lot more out of Charlotte Esports, a lot more events. CJ, I'm sure it's driving him crazy. He can't do events because that's like his thing. He's really good at it. Reaching out to colleges, working with them. So I know that as soon as this is done, it's going to be like hit the ground running. So I manage a lot more of the Phoenix brand, is where CJ manages the Charlotte Esports brand. So we've got a lot of things that are going to work together that are really going to make our events like blow up. Whether that be our Rocket League team show up to a Rocket League tournament, not to play in it, not to scare anyone off, but to be there and maybe sign autographs or whatever, do giveaways, jerseys, or to even cast something, or who knows, maybe even we do a tournament for a game, and we sign. I can't say, but maybe there's a team that we're signing that we can bring out. There's a lot of big things happening behind the scenes that people don't know yet, and I'm excited for. So definitely check us out. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, because I repost everything that's going on. So just at CLT Shade on Twitter. But yeah, just be on the lookout. We have a lot of huge things that like I want to just say, but I can't. But it's big. It's big. Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, like, it's just, that's why I'm up so late working, because there's so many things that we want to get done. So no, good, it's good.
Alrighty, everyone, that'll wrap up this episode of CLT Bytes, and this is Brother Jax signing out.